Well, welcome everyone. If you're watching the live broadcast, I'm here with a great friend of mine and pastor here in Chiang Mai, Thailand, Jonathan Vickers. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous, mate.
Good, good. Really excited to be talking today about the journey of Christian vision ain't all just fun and games. Actually, Pastor Jonathan, you said this in church just a couple days ago. It was in passing in the middle of the message. You had everyone raise your hand. Who loves vision? And everybody cheered and everybody went crazy. And then you said, who loves the journey of vision? And there was silence, maybe a few claps. And
yes.
So it kind of struck me, that this might be a great theme. The journey of vision, it is a process. And I want to get into that in a minute. But let me introduce myself, if you don't mind. Okay, well, my name is David Joannis. I am the founder and president of Within Reach Global. It's a nonprofit missions organization that is reaching unreached people groups in the 1040 window, specifically in China. And you can check that out at withinreachglobal.org. I'll make the link available here in just a moment. And I also blog at davidjoannis.com. So make sure you follow me here on Blab and sign up for all the updates there. But again, really excited to be talking to Pastor Jonathan. You're definitely a man of many hats. Okay, I'll introduce you as the pastor of the of House of Praise International Church here in Chiang Mai. But why don't you go ahead and introduce all the many other hats that you might wear at times?
There's a few of them, but then we've been here for 21 years. Obviously born in Australia by the accent. I'm an immigrant family. Mum from Burma, dad from India, grandma from Pakistan, granddad from Arabia, and an English side to us, and mostly Asian side. God when I came to Christ at 17, He put an anointing on me, and He gave me a mind and a heart and a passion full of vision. And so since then, we did 7 years working with tribal headhunters and blow dart hunters and unreached people groups in Kalimantan and Borneo, Indonesia. During those years, we saw every remarkable miracle anyone ever desired to see, including being rescued by angels, translation, moved from one side of the country to another, seeing the dead raised, the absolute astounding presence of God that certainly brought the attention of His kingdom to the people. In Thailand 21 years ago, nearly now, we launched here by a vision from God. And God has been faithful to the heavenly vision, I'm sure. And we continue to try to be faithful to that vision. But we have COC Foundation, which is church planting and training leaders right across the nation. We have Haven Foundation, which does everything from rescuing orphan children to children at high risk, trafficked children, trafficking intervention, emergency disaster relief, mobile medical clinics, medical teams. We're involved with prison ministries, HIV ministries, and it goes on and on. We're blessed to have the international church, which is 92% made up of missionaries and ministries. So it's a very unusual church. And not only that, we're blessed to have over 170 ministries under our umbrella organization around the nation. So God has done a phenomenal job. I think we're dragging our heels, but God is doing pretty good.
Yeah, can you still see me there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I am very happy that you went ahead and introduced yourself, because that's way too many hats for me to describe at one time. Obviously, in all your years in the missionary venture, in the heart of God for people, specifically unreached and those who are perhaps the underprivileged and forgotten, you have been on a journey of vision.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you take a lot of other people with you on that journey. Mm-hmm. That's what we often fail to think about.
Okay, that's a great point. Let's get into that. So Here's what I wanted to start with. I wanted to kind of give we're talking about the journey of Christian vision ain't all just fun and games. And maybe the destination of vision is the exciting part. You have this vision, this passion, direction, you know where you're going. However, the process of getting there might not be just a wonderful dance and prance in the fields, right?
No, the reason is that visionaries are seers by nature, at least to some degree. There's a prophetic edge on them. They're foolish if they start running around calling themselves prophets, everything, because with the gift of God comes the visionary ability. It's a pioneering spirit. And pioneering, we always say, to have a pioneering spirit, you must have a willingness to sacrifice in order to pioneer. So sacrifice is critical, because when God gives you the vision, you're not capable of carrying that vision to where it has to go. So the first things he does is he begins to grow you.
Yes.
And that's not it's a great road, but it's not a good road to be on, because you're going to have to grow. He's got to flex your muscles. He's got to teach you how to lift the weight. He's got to teach you how to run faster, how to jump higher in the spiritual realms. And as I said before, you've got to take a journey with people. I'm not an independent player. I believe in team.
Yes.
Surrounding ourselves with people make it happen faster. It's one of the reasons we're probably as effective as people say we are. I'm not sure how effective they say we are, but they do say we are. But the reason is because we gather people with us for a journey, but it's not an easy journey, and it's a tough one for them, because you've got a vision in your heart. They don't necessarily have that vision, but they can carry it.
Yes.
And so you've got to keep them communicated. You've got to keep them informed. When God told the children of Israel, I'm going to give you a promised land, it was a really great idea. Sounded fabulous, flowing with milk and honey. Mm-hmm. The next part of the command was really interesting. And there's a bunch of ites over there that you're going to have to kill them and take the land off them, and it's all yours. That was just
between.
That's a long journey, and it's going to cost you a few people on the way. Don't believe nobody's going to get suffering or die in the process, and you're going to do some grieving, because you've got to grow, and it's going to cost. Everything costs. It's not a perfect world, and the kingdom works by sacrifice.
Yeah. Now, let me just pause right there and say, going back to vision, this is how Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it. It says, the ability to see, or sight or eyesight, something that you can imagine, a picture that you see in your mind, something that you see or dream, especially as part of a religious or supernatural experience. And I like that quote. It reminds me of what you just said. The most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight but no vision. So, you're right. You will lose people along the way, perhaps because the vision that they expected did not come about as fast as they perceived it might.
Sometimes it's that, and the road is too difficult if you don't carry it. Years ago, David knows, God gave me a word to buy a building cash in 2 payments. That's a horrible word for anybody to be around.
Yeah.
But I was inoculated. I was vaccinated. So for 2 years, we didn't fundraise. We did what God told us to do. It was a young church. We couldn't fundraise in the church. And so I signed a cash contract to buy a building. Now, you have to understand, like David said when they questioned about David's ability to take on Goliath, that's not my first jump. That's not my first giant. He said, no, I killed that bear and I killed that lion.
Yes.
I can finish off this Philistine. And so, I've had a lifetime of jumps. And so we signed a cash contract right till 3 weeks due date for the money to come in. We had no money. But God provided. Well, I can tell you, for me, I didn't sweat, because you have a word from God. Vision comes in it, but the ones around you, they were absolutely coming unglued. Members of the church, my family, they were like, and of course they did. Sure. It's not because of lack of faith.
Sure, it's a natural response.
They're actually going a journey of faith. Yeah, I didn't have to go faith. That's not faith. that's a God. And
Yes.
sometimes people mix the two up. So see, the challenge of going a journey of vision is that you see it, but we often could, then you've got to have faith to go with it. No. You choose to go with it because it seems right. And it's inside you. There is no possibility of doubting it. And so you go with that word. But everybody else, they're going to have a different road. And you've got to be a communicator for that other gift.
Yeah, a visionary who sees that vision has got to be able to clearly articulate that to his or her followers.
Yeah. Well, not only that, visionaries are two. There's those that see something and create vision around it, and those that get vision and then enact it. Now, I believe both are godly. One is more directed by the Spirit and into the purpose of God. And the second one, really, the second is that they see something and they can create a vision. That's a natural means. It's still godly, but it's only really second to getting a vision from the Lord. Now, if the Lord doesn't give you a direct vision to something that he wants to accomplish, then we already have his word, what we should be accomplishing. So we see a situation, we create a vision around it, and then we have to motivate people. Yeah. But it's a whole two different ways of coming at it.
Okay, well, you're talking a lot about someone who has vision and then his or her followers may kind of lose their step along the way. What about those times when you have a very clear vision, the end result, the purpose of God in your heart or in your mind, a word that's been dropped into your heart, and you yourself begin to lose hope in the process, in the journey? What do you do at that point?
Yeah, short journeys are always nice.
Yes.
Carrying vision for a long time and faith for the long program, that's tough. I've often said believing for $1 million is easier than believing to make payments of $1 million over a year. That's the one that kills you.
Yeah.
I prefer to believe straight away. So sometimes getting a vision, if it's something that enacts very quickly, you'll last a lot longer and a lot easier. It'll be a better road for you. But if he gives you a lifetime vision, we have a mandate for what we are to do in my lifetime, and there's seasons, and, for every 10 years and 7 years, and for that, you've got to pace yourself at a different rate. It's like a sprinter or a marathon runner. And, so I'm not a runner at all, nor a sprinter. I don't even like walking. But my dad was an Olympic athlete. And so my principles of my father, that you've got to go for the longer haul. Now, you're going to have to talk to your head, not just your spirit. And you're going to have to feed yourself on the word, but you need to surround yourself with people that will bear you up when it's tough times. Moses needed two beside him that could bear his arms up, and we need more than two. If Moses needed two, we need a lot more than that, because it's a longer road. The second area is that when God gives you a vision, write it down.
Yes.
Make it plain, because after you're going to doubt it. After that, you're going to question it. After that, our humanity will step in and we'll be questioning, did God? Now, everybody else around you will be asking you already, did God tell you? Why did you start this horrible journey? Why are you doing this thing? If you haven't written it down, or what I call rehearsed it, so you've got it word right. People around me know I quote the same things that God told me over and over. The reason is I've rehearsed them.
Yes.
Because later on I'm going to mess it up. Later I'm going to try and revamp it. I'm going to soften it down. I'm going to rewrite it in my head and stick with what did God say. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to really lose sight of that vision. And if you lose sight of it, you won't accomplish all that God said.
Yeah, it reminds me about more than 20 years ago now. I first landed in Hong Kong in China, beginning of my missionary venture. Previously to that, a few years and many years throughout my early years in China, I would journal, take my big journal everywhere I went, and just write down what God was speaking, the vision for unreached people groups, the vision to reach those who the world and even Christians had forgotten in our evangelistic efforts. I am so thankful that I wrote those things down, because looking back, I have a stack of journals that I could see, yes, God, this was the journey that you took me on in vision.
Yeah. Now it's two areas too, because when we do that, what happens? We have to go back and sort out the dreams and the aspirations.
Yes.
Because that belongs to us, and that's normal. Mm-hmm. Or the pressures of other men, or if you're part of a ascending organization, we call it the need to send photos of trees while fruit's growing.
Yeah, I've been there. You feel that pressure at times.
Yeah, and so that's the challenge, is sorting out which is a defining word from God. Now, I talk about the defining word of God because that's how I work. Been blessed to have raised the dead on several occasions. But the ones that get up, I'll pray for lots of people, but I know the ones that will get up because I have a defining word from God.
Yes.
And when I have that word, there's a boldness comes upon you. There's a faithfulness. And, I can understand why literally Jesus wasn't in a hurry to get to Lazarus, because it was going to happen. And on the way, we may as well get on with some other things. Don't miss anything on the way. Don't drop anything on the way, because it's still going to happen. It's just a matter of when I get there, it'll happen. And that's a defining word from God. A word that's not a defining. Absolutely. Other words, there are some that you're going to have to make them. It's like we said, Moses received the word that you can inherit the land. It's prepared for you. Go and take it. It's all yours. That was one part of the word. The second part of the word was go and kill the enemies.
Yes, the journey.
That's a different type of word, because that's not what God's going to do. That's what you're going to do.
Yes.
And this is the thing, is what God's going to do is really easy. It depends on him. But the part that's hard for us, we've got to get focused on and then train for and develop for. And it's still his power, his presence. But we've got to be able to understand that this is now the part that we're responsible for. And we need to send some bears. We need to have some previous victories. So really, when you're dealing with vision, you've got to train yourself for war. You've got to have your hands ready for war. And so you've got to train yourself, not just word, but encounter and experience opportunity. If you don't, come the battle, you may have the word from God to go into it. But once you get in the land, you'll be running and hiding.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready to take the giants.
That's where that journey comes into play. So just to recap, if you just joined us, by the way, live, we're talking about the joy of Christian vision ain't all just fun and games. Pastor Jonathan Vickers has given some great examples from the Bible of holding on to the Word of God, holding on to the spoken Word of God, and walking through that perhaps long journey to finally arrive at the long destination. I would encourage you to share this with a friend on your Facebook account, or tweet it to your Twitter followers. Feel free to also call in. I can't see Jonathan. You know what? Tell you what, Pastor Jonathan, why don't you, I'm going to X out and you can call right back in here. It looks like a few people are struggling to see you. Is that okay?
Are they? Okay, will do.
Okay. All right.